the big gain here, the big winner here, apart from Andy gaining time, if he can continue this. I mean, he's got this mountain and the next one to come, remember. It's a big ask for him to have enough reserves of energy to keep going at this sort of pace. The big winner is Fränk Schleck, his brother, who's sitting very close to the top of the GC and not having to do anything at all.
Of course, you know, they're going to play the cards. They're 1-2, and that is the advantage. And it'll be interesting to see how strong Andy is with the teammate up front of Montfort. That is going to be vital here, because he is going to be able to do a lot, I reckon. And when you come to the final climb of the day, to the Galibier, it will be interesting to see Montfort, how long can he stay on the front, making a good enough pace for Andy Schleck that he's happy with it. But you know, the Galibier, 23 kilometres, as we can see, is that the Saxo Banks on the front once again.
Yep, that's Saxo once again on the front, followed by BMC, then the yellow jersey of Thomas Voeckler. And this is just this little false flat in the middle. There's a little bit of a descent, actually, towards the top of these wires. It's some sort of blasted landscape, isn't it? There we are, Le Casse Desert. And now they start to climb again, and look at the vicious percentage that faces them as soon as they run in from that. 2 minutes now. Andy Schleck has taken out of the yellow jersey group. He's inching up towards the yellow jersey for tonight. Still another mountain to come, though. They're gambling everything on the fact that there's still one massive climb to come, Sean.
Yes, but I think you know, they have to gamble a long ways out, and we've talked about that. The final climb of the day, they don't seem to be able to make the difference between the big favourites. It was certainly the case in the Pyrenees. Of course, here in the Alps, the climb's much longer, but it's up to the guys, the big favourites. Who's going to do the chasing back here? Because there's not many of the big favourites back in main bunch with Thomas Voeckler, who has got teammates. We see, I think it looked like Navarro was taking it up again, but I think on the descent section he'd be able to do that, but when we get onto the climb, will he be able to continue on doing it? That is the question. I doubt if any of the favourites have some teammates there who are capable of setting a pace and pulling back that advantage which Andy Schleck have of 2 minutes at the moment.
Nope, and it'll have to be down to the favourites themselves to do so. Rigoberto Urán, Race Radio tells us, is coming back towards that yellow jersey group. They can't be going super fast then at the moment. 2 minutes exactly is the gap between Andy Schleck and the yellow jersey group. They're pegging it. Navarro is pegging that a 2 minute advantage at the moment. The battle over the last couple of years has been between Andy Schleck and Alberto Contador. So Contador will be looked on by all the other favourites. Well, you know, the history is between you and he. You're the two big guys who are being hyped up for this. You go do the chasing. Navarro has gone to the front for Saxo Bank to see if he can keep that gap, at least something sensible. Naglinski takes Bidon. And question is, what is everybody thinking in the group? Let's run down who's exactly there. Cadel Evans, well, he doesn't want to show his hand too early. He's got the Galibier still to come. He's the best placed of those men on general classification, and then Thomas Voeckler, of course, 1 minute and 18 seconds. Fränk Schleck, well, he's got nothing to worry about because he can just sit there. As Roche begins to pull away from Montfort, that could be because Montfort now knows that Andy Schleck is coming up behind. Fränk Schleck in the group of the yellow jersey, well, he doesn't have to worry. He's 122 down on Voeckler. He's got to keep an eye on him, but he knows that everybody else is going to have to do the work to drag back his brother Andy. Andy was at 2:36 today on GC. That's going to put the cat amongst the pigeons, because now everybody's thinking, well, he's only a handful of seconds off us. Samuel Sanchez, he's lost both the men he had in the breakaway. He's going to have to think about, well, Andy's just a little bit above me and pulling away at the moment. Alberto Contador, the big showdown man with Andy Schleck last year, the big favourite coming into this. Is he going to respond? Has he got the legs today? Has he got a problem with that knee? He is the big favourite. Everybody's going to look at him. Thomas Voeckler, on the other hand, has virtually nothing to lose if you think about it, because nearly everybody was saying, well, he's not going to be in yellow at the end of today, or he's not going to win this Tour de France. At what point does he think, I can go on the attack, I can try and take this yellow jersey to the end of the day? At the moment, it's up to every other big favourite to do the work. I am the underdog. Over the top of the Izoire goes Maxime Montfort, Dries Devenijns and Igor Silin. And up towards the top of this climb comes Andy Schleck, last year's runner-up, and this year has gone on the attack. It's good to see. I'm sure they must have been stung by the criticisms of everybody, not just us, of course, but everybody, that they don't attack and make it stick. Maybe it was always the plan. This is the descent then, and maybe they're gambling a little bit on the fact that they could make a little bit of time on Schleck on the descent. Montfort is waiting for him here, Sean.
Yes, he certainly is. We can see that for a long time he's been waiting, even on the uphill at the final kilometre. We could see Montfort eating a bit, and he's certainly, you know, on the brakes there on the way downhill, having another bit to eat. And Roach has just gone on ahead, and as we can see, Andy, he needs somebody badly to get him to make the line into the corners, and that's the reason Montfort is being called by the team director. Wait up, Andy is coming to you. We need you to get him down this descent.
Yes, it is the two weaknesses in the Andy Schleck armoury are his time trialling, which he has worked hard to improve, but will still never be the best time trialist in the world, and his descending, which we've talked about. Yesterday he played an absolute blinder, descending that very short technical descent, but it still is a weak point. It maybe not plays on his mind, but other people will be aware of it. We know that an Evans or Contador, Sanchez and Voeckler will all be better off this descent than Andy will. Navarro still setting the pace. The gap is 2 minutes. Rein Taramai is at the front of this group now, along with yellow Van den Dert. Van den Dert will want some points. Fränk takes a bid on, so does Taramai. That's a good way of doing it, Sean. You've noticed there that the top of this climb, all the soigneurs have taped on the gels or the bars or whatever to the bidon, so they can grab them with one hand, don't have to stop, and they can pull them off with their teeth.
Yes, and
it's all about preparation.
Yes, all about preparation, all about making the calculation. Of course, if you know your team is going to give you a bottle with some energy bars, you don't have to stock up before the climb from the team car. And you know, lightness, that means a lot, as you talked about the tandem there with the two Schlecks, I think, on the downhill. I agree with yourself and Magnus, because the weight factor there would be a big advantage.
Yes, I'm overweight and Magnus is big, so there we are. Well, this is the Leopard Trek tandem at the moment. Let's see if they can go around in the same line. Interesting to see Thomas Voeckler coming to the front of his own group, the yellow jersey group. Keep going, get in front of me, says Andy. He's got to get down this in one piece. He's got to get down without losing much time. Maxime Montfort's been out all day, remember, just pushes him and gets into the wheel. Still, Andy Schleck has all the work to do, with behind him Maxim Maglinski, who's been mightily aggressive today. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he has a good shout of getting the combativity award for today, although Andy Schleck is laying down the marker for that one as well. I still don't think it's not going great guns here, Sean. They've not really committed to doing any more at the moment. There's still some strong men here who would get blown out on the bigger slopes. Thomas Voeckler is quite rightly going, no, you go and do it, you take this off me. But there's a lot of looking around, and we've seen riders who will get blown away in the bigger slopes here.
Yes, well, of course, it's not organised at all here. We can see Cadel Evans just keeping it rolling on the front of the bunch here. And Contador disappeared totally to the back of this group, and now we can see just all the favourites looking at each other. And I'm not surprised that the other favourites do not want to take it up for the moment. The like of Basso, for example, Van den Dert is not prepared to take it up because they know that Contador and Cadel Evans are the real strong riders, and they're the danger ones. So still with 12 kilometres to go, a lot of discussion going on here, and just paying, as we can see, is that Sylvester Schmidt taking it up for the moment.
And Evans rides across, wants to use the pace setting of Liquigas and Europcar here. Basso is behind his domestique. And Thomas Voeckler sitting, playing a very clever game, Sean. He maybe doesn't have the legs, but he maybe does have still something in the tank. He's just responding slowly to every body that goes. He's not gone that lightning explosivity yet, but Cadel Evans is now beginning to play the game here because with the others. He was shrugging his shoulders and saying, well, why isn't anybody helping me? Well, that's because you're probably the best placed man on GC and overall to try and take back Andy Schleck.
Yes, I think a little bit of panic coming into the situation now for Cadel Evans, and we're coming to the point, 10 kilometres. Andy Schleck still is over 4 minutes out there, and we can see there that Thomas Voeckler not prepared. And I'm not surprised, because if you start riding here with over 10 kilometres still to go, well, you're going to pay the price later. And Voeckler knows that it's just play the waiting game, wait for the big favourites to panic a bit, and they will have start riding. And it's becoming a very tactical race here now, back in the main group of big favourites.
Maxime Montfort, the man who was in the breakaway deliberately to help out this game plan for Andy Schleck today. He gave it absolutely everything, still going on as much as he can. Samrat Sanchez is that new radio he needs by the look of it, being tended to at the moment. They're just changing the channels, sorting out the channels in the radio here for Samuel Sanchez. And they're clearly still not going absolutely full at it. Is he going to get another one? Is he going to bother? I doubt it. This, Sean, is a very tactical game, and a very dangerous one now, because continuing up ahead, the ride is going in the favour of Andy Schleck.
It's certainly playing into the hands of Andy Schleck at the moment, and if Andy Schleck can, keep on riding at a real strong rate, which he has been doing for this final 10-11 kilometres, if he doesn't weaken a lot, well, he is in a real good position at the moment with over 4 minutes of an advantage. But I think we will see some attacks surely from Cadel Evans. When we get a bit of a steeper section, if you go in the attack, well, then you're going to explode this group totally. And if you can get, Cadel Evans, Contador together, maybe with a Basso, then they could start working together. But for the moment, right on the front with so many people just sitting there and wanting to get carried along, you cannot do that still with just under 11 kilometres to go.
4:16 the advantage as Saxo Banks take up a little bit of the pace setting, but Andy Schleck with 10 kilometres to go and a very steep 10 still, as Maxim Miglinski and Nicholas Roach. I get the feeling that everybody, Sean, is biding their time for one reason or another. It's a very complicated and dangerous game that the favourites are playing behind. Andy Schleck is far too dangerous to let go of the road. Fränk Schleck is still, for me, is the one who's benefiting more than anything else, because he's not being forced to do any work whatsoever. All he has to do is to follow. And all the rest of the other favourites are just looking at each other. He's the one with no pressure on him whatsoever. Also Thomas Voeckler as well. He's just saying, hey, I'm the underdog. You don't think I can win anyway? I'm just going to sit here as well. And we've seen him already, Sean, shake his head and say, no, I'm not doing any work.
Yes, and I can understand from Voeckler, because against the big favourites here, and Voeckler knows that it is going to be difficult for him today. And if he starts to work here, start putting in an effort, well, he's definitely going to pay the price in the end, and probably will pay anyway if they go in the big attacks. And they certainly will be, some attacks here in the final 10 kilometres.
The gap is continuing to grow for Andy Schleck. It's 4 minutes and 24 seconds. A very brave attack at 60 kilometers out. Terrific descent from the man who has had a reputation for not being so good. We thought it was going to be another of those days, Sean. The very first corner he took, he was well off, as Nicholas Roach now is beginning to suffer too much here. I think Andy has upped the pace a little bit rather than anything else.
Well, possibly up the pace, or just the gradient is starting to kick up a bit here, and he continues on, setting a very strong pace. And if you're a little bit or a big bit, let's say, under pressure on the earlier part on the lower gradient, well, then you're going to pay the price. And I think Nicholas Roach was in difficulty. We could see him there, he was fighting to hang in, and he's done a magnificent job. As we see Sammy Sanchez getting a bike change here, again the same situation, I reckon, as Contador, just for a gear ratio, a better ratio for the final.
It will be. He's not too far off the back of the group. And now Evans opens up the tap. He's gone, and Pierre Rollin is with him. Ivan Basso begins to respond. Or is it Schmidt that's going up? It's Schmidt. It looked a little bit too fast for Basso. Schmidt responds and takes Voeckler with him. First dig of the day from this group. Well done by Thomas Voeckler. He stayed in this group, and Cadel Evans attacking. Where is Contador? He's having to work his way back up, Sean. He wasn't immediately on the ball. Sanchez right at the back of this group, and nothing's come of it just yet. He's in the wheel tracks of Basso there, Alberto Contador. Just ahead is Jelle van den Dert of the Omega Pharma Lotto squad in the polka dot jersey. 4:24. I think he knows the gap's going a little too far out now, Cadel Evans. Evans second on the general classification. Now getting down to the hard graft here to see if he can chop down some of that time. He has the advantage that he's been able to sit there behind some of his teammates and those of other teams as well. 4:20. Let's see how quickly this comes down, Sean. Your reckoning, if at all?
Well, at the moment, we'll have to wait and see, give it a kilometre, 2 kilometres to see will it come down. But amazing, Andy Schleck. When 1:4 dropped off, working with Andy, it was 3:47, and now, we have 4:11, 4:12. So Andy doing a great job, and Cadel Evans has just to take it up, because we're coming to the 9 kilometres to go. The advantage for Andy is getting to be huge, and it's a difficult one, because there's nobody wants to commit here at the moment. They all know that Cadel Evans is the danger one, but Contador playing the waiting game all the time, and it's an interesting one. Is Contador under difficulty? Because I think if we had a Grand, the Contador we have in the past, he would just put in these big attacks and just blow the group apart.
Sanchez is having trouble. He's in the wheels of Rigoberto around. Maybe that little extra effort he had to make to regain the group is paid the price, because not very long after that, Cadel Evans up the pace at the front. Samuel Sanchez then sitting behind Rigoberto around. He's got to try and go around him and get across to the group if he can. Rigoberto around suffering. Rein Taramai still in this group. 59 seconds separate him and Oran in the best young riders jersey. Great tactical riding by Thomas Voeckler as well. He's just responding. He said he couldn't do anything, but at the moment he's looking okay.
Yes, looking okay for the moment, and that's what they've got to do. He's just got to, ride his race on the tail of the big favourites, and he's doing the job real well today. And it'll be interesting to see, Cadel Evans, will he continue on setting this pace, and who is going to, give a hand out here? It doesn't look like anybody for the moment, but everybody may be suffering so much that they just cannot do anything about it.
They are coming to the top of the Col de Lauterre. There are two leading men, Maxim Iglinski and Andy Schleck, and then they will turn right on to the Galibier proper. Evans is being forced to do all the work again. He's been active and strong all the way through this Tour de France, and as Sean has said many times, it could pay very dearly for it in the end. We've still got Alpe d'Huez to go, remember, those vicious slopes at the bottom of Alpe d'Huez tomorrow. Andy Schleck rounds the corner onto the Galibier with Maxim Iglinski in his wheel. It's the final roll of the dice for Andy on today's stage. Iglinski has been a tower of a rider today, and Nicholas Roach has gone a long way off the back of these two. Nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, the gap has come down 30 seconds, Sean.
Yes, and well, I'm not surprised with the sudden accelerations of Cadel Evans, and we can see there, you know, the Col de Lotteray, the altitude now is 2,059 meters, so from here on it's going to be the difficult part, as we see Nicholas Roach turning here as he goes to take on the final 8.5 kilometers.
Yeah, and he's looking across to the big screen to see just how far down he is, or how far down the rest of the peloton is, as Andy tries to up the pace again. Maxim Iglinski out of the saddle as well. Andy Schleck has dropped to Maxim Iglinski. He's all by himself now. He's riding away. 3:59. The gap is going up again. Oh, it's seesaw backwards and forwards. How much can Andy Schleck still have in the tank with 7.5 kilometers to go? It's all down to Evans. They're going to let Evans kill himself, Sean, and then they're going to go past him.
Well, it will be interesting to see Evans, you know, just continue on time trial mode and everybody sitting in his wheel. But is there anybody capable of attacking? That is the question. Contador, I think when we turn, you know, after the Col de Lotteray here, that is the point where we could see Andy Schleck putting on the pressure and Iglinski just not able to follow. The percentage again, they are a bit more difficult, and that's where we could see attacks. If there's anybody capable of attacking, it's the moment to go. You know, just over 7 kilometers, and Contador has to do something here. If he's capable of doing it, we will see it, I think, very quickly.
What an incredibly tactical battle it has been. All the favourites looking at each other, whilst this man here, Andy Schleck, pulled out a big advantage to ride into the yellow jersey position. But the yellow jersey himself, Thomas Voeckler, saying, hey, you think you're the big favourites, I'm the underdog, you go and take it. Fränk Schleck, of course, just sitting there, not really worried about it at all, because he's got his brother up the road, and they're going to tow him along. In the end, Cadel Evans, who looked a bit nervous earlier on, looking around saying, come on guys, who's going to help me, who's going to help me? I think he realised that Contador at the time maybe not wanting to put anything in. Same with Samuel Sanchez, who we've seen is in a little bit of trouble. He's had to take up the cudgel himself, and once again the Australian has had to ride hard at the front. He's doing all the work, dragging all the favourites up, but he's doing a very good job at the moment. Will it be too much? On to the summit, or the turn at the Lotto for this group of the big favourites here in this Tour de France. Remember that we started with 8 men who could have won the Tour de France today. All of them within 3 minutes and 50 seconds of our leader, Thomas Voeckler, who's still in this group. Sanchez has got back onto the rear of these yellow jersey group here. 3:30 the gap. Well, remember that Andy Schleck started at 2 minutes and 36 seconds down, and Pierre Rolland, what a mighty ride again from Pierre Rolland. I hope he justifies a bigger, well, he will justify a bigger salary next year again. One of the key members for Thomas Voeckler, if not the key member. Evans riding here hard at the front, trying to shut the gap down. A lot of people writing on Twitter saying, hey, Evans needs to get with it. He needs to ride at the front, because otherwise he's just a bit of a wheel sucker. Hey, that's not really the case. He's a very clever rider, and he has attacked and ridden strongly all the way through this Tour de France. And last year in the rainbow jersey, for example, he attacked all the time. And look at the way he's riding at the front here. He's cutting the gap down. He doesn't want to let this one go, Sean. He's been second twice, and he does not want to let the opportunity go. I think he realises, Cadel Evans, he's in the best form he's ever been in.
Yes, well, he realises the situation. Nobody wants to contribute, and Contador not prepared for the moment. So Cadel Evans, in the position he's in at 118, he cannot allow Andy Schleck to ride away and continue on to pull out an advantage. As we can see, it is coming down, and if you wait too long, well, then it's going to be too late. So he's in a position where he can win this tour, but he has to take it in his hands. But again, will he be attacked by some of the other favourites? That is going to be the problem for him in the final kilometres. But what do you do if you continue on waiting? Well, then it's going to be too late anyway. So you have to just take the risk and go for it.
About a bike length or two. Sanchez is in trouble again, as Perrault is also suffering here. Sanchez has lost about 10 bike lengths. And now Evans seems to be being joined by Ivan Basso. Let's get back to the front of this. Christian van der Velde hanging in at the back there. Yellow van in that on the wheel of Ivan Basso, and the yellow jersey continues to follow. Cadel Evans setting the pace and still looking pretty good. 3:25 is the gap. Schmidt, the Polish climber, sits behind the yellow jersey of Thomas Voeckler. Kunago is in here. You've noticed that Contador is up in this group as well, moving slowly, inevitably towards the front. Was it sandbagging? Is he suffering? Is he like a Bernardino, where you can just say, right, when I'm suffering, I just dig in hard? Brave move by Andy Schleck today, going on the slopes of the Col d'Izoire and pulling out a big lead. But it looks like he's going to need all of it. He may take the stage victory, Sean, but will it put him in an overall race-winning situation here?
Well, of course, we still have 6 kilometres to go. It's a long ways. And can Cadel Evans keep on going? Can he continue on eating into the advantage of Andy Schleck? It looks like he can. And Andy Schleck may be starting to suffer, but again, difficult to make the calculation, because on the steeper sections, it looks like that he has difficulty keeping it going. Only the watch will tell, and we can see it's still 3:26. Cadel Evans can do this for a while, but will he be able to continue it all the way as we go through 6 kilometres to go? 3:26 the advantage for Andy Schleck.
Really gritting his teeth is Rein Tamarai. Pierre Rolland sits in the wheel of his team leader Thomas Voeckler, who is following Cadel Evans very well at the moment. Voeckler, Evans, Fränk Schleck, Andy Schleck, Samuel Sanchez, Alberto Contador, Damiano Cunego and Ivan Basso, all starting within 3 minutes and 50 seconds of each other this morning. Samuel Sanchez is slipping off the back. He's lost, 20, 30 bike lengths, maybe more now. Andy Schleck. Huge amount of crowds today, all the way from the Lotto to the top of the Galibier, seeing this young man riding to the highest ever Tour de France stage finish, and riding as if he looks as though he's going to win the stage, I think, with 5.6 kilometers to go. But the big question is it enough for the Tour de France win itself? Who is going to go from this group? Sean, I think Frank's going to go.
Well, I'd not be surprised if the gap is coming down and Evans start to suffer, and that will be the decisive factor for Fränk Schleck. And again, is he capable of doing it? Because the pace being set by Cadel Evans, we can see Sammy Sanchez getting into difficulty, and when you see that, it tells me that it is a very fast pace. So is there somebody capable of attacking? But Fränk Schleck, of course, if he feels that he can really hit him and go for it, he will do it. And because I doubt if Cadel Evans will be able to react after the effort he's putting in and continue on to do.
I very much doubt that as well. He's just got himself into that rhythm, that high-pace rhythm, and he's just digging in, gritting his teeth and trying to get as much time out of them as possible. But that's a knowing look by Alberto Contador. He looks over the shoulder to see where Fränk Schleck is. Still at the back, riding very well indeed, Tom Danielson for Garmin Cervélo. We saw Ryder Hysdal suffering off the back, and the gap is coming down another couple of seconds. It's a mighty effort by both men now. They are very, very evenly matched now. Andy Schleck and Cadel Evans. There's not much time being taken up, but second by second it's coming down. Thomas Voeckler gaining so much. As we said earlier, Sean, he's the underdog. He can just sit there. He doesn't have to do anything at the moment.
No, not doing anything, and it will be interesting to see as we get further on up the climb in the final, 3 kilometres. If Thomas Voeckler is feeling good, well then we will see him, putting in an effort and trying to take this gap down and try to hold on to his jersey. But for the moment, he's just going to follow because still just under the 5 kilometres to go.
3 minutes and 14 is the gap. Andy Schleck started at 2 minutes and 36 seconds down on the yellow jersey of Thomas Voeckler today. Tom Danfison now beginning to suffer as well. One by one, they drop like flies off the back of this group. 3:13. It's a mighty, mighty effort by Voeckler to even be here. But Cadel Evans, having said, right, I'm going to take the responsibility, there is nobody going to come and help him. Jelle van den Dert would be another one who might well go if the gap starts to come down. It seems to be about steady, Sean, at the moment. There's nothing in it.
Well, I think it's coming to the point where we could see Evans just having difficulty continuing to eat into the advantage of Andy Schleck. When you take it up the first couple of kilometres, you were fresh, you hadn't been riding on the front, where Andy has been out there for a long, long time today. So we could see that where it would start to even out a bit, and Andy just might be able to hold his advantage.
Danielson, as you can see, great riding by Rein Temerai, because Temerai is riding himself into the young rider's jersey. Finally, he's been second again, second a bit more, and remained in second spot as people have leapfrogged over the top of him. But today, with Rigoberto Urán in trouble early on, it looks to me as though Temerai is going to end up as best young rider. Sanchez, on the other hand, in bits. There's Eddie Merckx, 5 times a winner of this Tour de France and well known to the Schlecks, urging them on, I'm sure, or urging Andy on. Sanchez just blown to bits today, Sean, on the final climb. He's going to go backwards very quickly here.
Yes, we could see him there in difficulty, and again, maybe he's just going to make his own rhythm there. Sometimes the riders, they just lose contact very quickly, but get into their own pace and limit their losses, and limit it quite well. And Sanchez, would have the experience, but again, it's all dependent on what you have left. If you're really at the end of your energy levels, then the gap is going to go out.
Looks like he's going to end up in eighth spot today, rather than 5th where he started this morning. Behind Alberto Contador, Damiano Cunego still climbing well. Ivan Basso. And Contador having to fight out of the saddle to get there. Fränk Schleck on the wheel. 4 kilometres to go. Now Rein Temerai just getting a little distanced here, but he's well ahead of Rigoberto Urán on the road. Oh, Van den Dert looking as though he's struggling to maintain the pace here. 5Ks for these men, 4Ks then for Andy Schleck at 3:08. The gap is continuing to come down. Surely Thomas Voeckler soon may think, hey, you know what? If I've got anything left in the tank and I can ride, I will ride. Van den Dert has got 6, 7, 8 bike lengths now to make up, to claw back onto the wheel of Fränk Schleck. Brilliant riding by the yellow jersey, and Pierre Rolland still to be in here. Well, it's been a fascinating stage so far, Sean. It's not over yet either.
No, and what a battle. Andy Schleck going out there, but Cadel Evans, he's just, giving it everything now, and It's just an amazing battle between the two big favourites. It's a time trial in the last 15 kilometres. Andy, of course, taking it up real early, almost 60 kilometres to finish, and it will be interesting to see, can he hold on to that 3 minutes? And if he does hold about the 3 minutes, well, then it will be a great day and a successful day for Andy, because he's really put himself in a great position. And of course, tomorrow another real difficult day, which would suit the Schleck brothers, the Philippe, on the finish on Alpe d'Huez.
Nicolas Roche is about to be caught by the chasing group. Cadel Evans, he takes a few seconds out, he loses a couple of seconds. He takes a few more out, he loses a couple of seconds. It's 3:08 the gap at the moment. What a fantastic day's racing here on the Galibier, in the highest part of the Alps we have been. Well, Darren McQuaid, brother of Pat McQuaid, was staying in the same hotel as Nicolas Roche last night, and told me that he really didn't want to end up with an anonymous Tour de France, and that is what he's had today. He's put that right. Everybody knows what he's been doing today. Oh, real pain and suffering in the shoulders evident there. Ryder Hushovd, who's just plugging away. 3 kilometers to go for Andy Schleck. Andy Schleck attacked with about 60 to go. Remember, Just Postuma and Maxime Montfort made it into the early break of 19 men. Postuma drove it along until some of the other favourites who had riders in the breakaway had those riders blown out the back. Euskaltel in particular, and BMC. Here on the slopes of the Galibier, over 4.5 minutes was the advantage that Andy Schleck had originally. Andy's got to ride to the stage victory here, unless something spectacular happens and he blows big style in the last 2.5 kilometers. But behind, the battle is on to limit the losses, and it's all been down to the Australian Cadel Evans, twice a runner-up in this Tour de France. He looked around, he shrugged his shoulders saying, who's going to help me? And everybody said, not me, Charlie, off you go. And that's exactly what Evans has had to do. He's been chasing him for the last 6 kilometers, basically. He's got the gap down to 3 minutes and 8, but it's not coming down any further, and still not one of the favourites is capable or willing to help Cadel Evans shut the gap down anymore. Terrific ride by the yellow jersey of Thomas Voeckler. I think a lot of people thought it would be the end of his day. Even if he loses the yellow jersey today, Sean, he has ridden with great style.
Yes, I think he's put up a great performance today, and the interesting thing is now, will he be able to just give it a little bit in these final number of kilometres? The advantage for Andy Schleck here, it's just hovering around the 3 minutes. It seems to be stable at that in the last couple of kilometres. So Cadel Evans also weakening, and it's going to be an interesting situation. Is there anybody capable of attacking Cadel Evans? Because they've been sitting on him for a long time, and I wonder, is there many of them that really want to attack him, because Evans has been doing so much work on the front. It's a real difficult situation for the other favourites, who are just being pulled along by Cadel Evans for a big number of kilometres now.
Well, he must realise surely that this is the time, if there is any time at all, to try and go, because Evans has done so much work. And as you say, Sean, I very much doubt if he could respond if somebody could attack. That's the big thing. It's about could attack. Whether they should attack is not here nor there. It's whether they can. 2.2 kilometers to go for Andy Schleck. Magnificent day's racing. The highest ever finish in the Tour de France, and the yellow jersey doing himself absolutely proud. I make no apologies for saying that. And trumpeting the cause of Thomas Voeckler, who's been a favourite rider of many hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people around the world for a long time, and today proving wonderful. Christian Prudhomme getting a little shirty with somebody dressed up as the Mask on the side of the road. Here we are behind Evans as Contador's being distanced. It's Contador who's going backwards here. Evans did the work. Now Basso came to the front for just a second, and Contador is in trouble, Sean.
Yes, certainly is, and you know, all wondering that what was the problem with Contador, and he had to be in trouble because waiting so long and not giving any help to Cadel Evans on the front, it you know, had to be a case that he was on the limit and not capable of doing it.
Well, he's ridden back up for a moment. I'm not sure he's going to stay there though, and already the gap is increasing. He's got to gets out of the saddle again to try and stay with the leading riders in this chase group. No, it's not going to happen. That's it for Alberto Contador. Evans still driving on a relentless pace from Evans, proving too much for Alberto Contador. Oh, it's a big massive gap. Contador is saying goodbye to the Tour de France. That is the moment, I think, when Contador is going to finish his challenge for the top. He was already 3 minutes and 15 seconds down on Thomas Voeckler. Curtains.
Yes, curtains. I think he's totally empty there, and we can see the gap is just growing out rapidly. A huge gap up to the group of Cadel Evans, and now it comes to the point that Cadel Evans taking it up, taking the risk that Contador was in difficulty. Now it's working out for Evans, but still that advantage for Andy Schleck still at 3 minutes.
Is there any possibility that he can regroup his forces, he can get himself back together, and he can just up his own pace very slightly? It looks unlikely. You do see it with riders, but I think just too difficult for Alberto Contador. But what of this man, Cadel Evans? He's gritting his teeth and really going for it. 2:58 for the first time in a long time. The gap has come down under 3 minutes. Voeckler has a chance here to hang on to this yellow jersey if only Evans can continue riding, or he could attack in the last few hundred meters. Last kilometer then for Andy Schleck. He's going to take the honor of taking the win at the very highest stage finish ever in the Tour de France. A fantastic attack at 60 kilometers. He made it up the Col du Gois. He has to say it got plenty of help from Maxime Montfort into the bottom of the Lotto as the yellow jersey group goes through the 1 kilometer to go back. Sorry, 2 kilometer to go banner. Contador is looking up and across, which means he already knows the distance is going at about 30 seconds, I think it is now. Now this is the time for the yellow jersey, 2:54. Come on, Tommy, you can hang on to this one. The win will go to Andy Schleck, but at 2:54, a slight weakening of Andy as he comes towards the line. I'm not surprised, he's been out for such a long time. The mighty Pierre Rolland takes up the pacemaking at the front, finally. And now Thomas Voeckler has to grit his teeth and hang on to this jersey for another day, and then surely the French papers will go ballistic once again, saying that this man could win the Tour de France. Go on, Tommy, just go with everybody you can. He can do this, Sean. He can hang on to this.
Yes, it is possible, but we see Pierre Rolland peeling off very quickly, and Voeckler, I'm not sure if he called for that, or is Pierre Rolland not able, but Cadel Evans taking it up again. It's going to be real tight here, and what a ride by Voeckler, and Pierre Rolland just able to hang in there. It's a performance from him that we would never have expected.
The gap this morning was 2 minutes and 36 seconds from Andy Schleck, this man here, to the yellow jersey, and it's 2:44 now. A mighty ride by Andy Schleck, fantastic descending, great climbing, but he's now paying for it. Cadel Evans, slightly fresher, really gritting his teeth. He's been second overall twice, doesn't want it again. He knows he's the best time trialist, so he wants to keep that gap down. 2:40 now, the gap. We're seeing 2004 all over again here, Sean. He's hanging on and hanging on and hanging on, but he's hanging on in huge company now.
Yes, it's what a performance by Voeckler, and I'm surprised to see him in there. I thought he would have difficulty, as we see Andy Schleck in real difficulty at the moment, but then the percentage here is real steep as well. That's something we have to consider here. I think the other ones will be in the same situation, difficulty keeping the pedals turning.
150 meters for Andy Schleck. He's got to summon up every ounce of energy. Will he pay for it tomorrow is the big question. He's going to get the win here, and he just has to grit his teeth and do the last 75 meters, almost coming to a standstill, but he deserves this win today, Andy Schleck. A terrific ride by the young Luxembourg rider. Over 6 hours in the saddle, as you can see, 6:08 coming up very shortly, and Andy Schleck takes the win just inside 6 hours and 8 minutes. The clock starts. Evans still grinding away the run. Here's Fränk Schleck coming up around the outside of Basso. There's a Basso has a quick word with Thomas Voeckler, I think probably saying well done. Contador is distanced. Evans still plugging away at the top. I wish the clock was in the bottom. We could see something. Voeckler may hang on to this yellow jersey today. Thomas has to give it everything he possibly can on these smallest of slopes. Pierre Rolland, mighty effort. The yellow jersey leads them around. And digging in the hardest part of this climb. 45 seconds at the moment. Evans gets to the front again. They're all going to finish together. Evans, Voeckler, Fränk Schleck and Ivan Basso. The gap has to be greater than 2 minutes and 36 seconds for the yellow jersey to slide from one man to another. Oh, terrific ride by all of these men. Fränk, of course, has had the advantage of Andy up the road in this case, but what grit and determination by the yellow jersey, and of course by Cadel Evans, who's done a magnificent job. 250 meters. Come on, Tommy, dig in. This must be the ride of his life. Thomas Voeckler. 1:35.67. He's being tailed off a little by these riders ahead of him as Fränk Schleck takes a few more seconds out of it. It is Fränk who is the freshest of these riders. Evans comes behind him. Voeckler giving it everything he possibly can. 2:36 is the gap. Here comes Fränk Schleck. Oh, Thomas, it's going to be so close. There's almost nothing to say. You just have to wait and watch the clock at the bottom. Voeckler, we've seen what a man he is. He's going to do it, is it? Thomas Voeckler over the line. Yes! 2 minutes and 20 seconds. He keeps the yellow jersey into the final mountain stage of this year's Tour de France. What a ride! That is magnificent. And the French tomorrow, Sean, will be saying Voeckler can win this Tour.
Well, he's certainly putting up a magnificent battle, and it's amazing the way he got in there today and fighting to hold on to the yellow jersey. But depending on, tomorrow's the big day, I suppose. A lot of riders will be really suffering tomorrow, considering what they've been through today. Andy Schleck, will he pay the price for this 60 kilometres out there on his own? Cadel Evans taking up that chase a long ways out. So it's Fränk Schleck who gets an easier ride, I suppose, and Voeckler just finishing and fighting, battling amazingly.
This is the other big battle as Rein Taramai goes across the line at 3:23. Now, Roland lost a little bit of time, but you know what? I think Roland might be in the white jersey today, and Taramai might be second again. It's going to be very close, that one. We'll wait for the official confirmation of that. Look at the amount of time that Alberto Contador has lost today. He may still dance on the pedals, but to Andy Schleck. He's lost another 3 minutes 49 seconds. I think it's his challenge for another Tour de France is over, Sean.
Yes, it's over. I think tomorrow's stage he's going to pay the price again today. Anybody you see paying dearly on the final climb, highly unlikely that they can recover from it. It's going to be just a difficult day again for the big favourites tomorrow.
I'm ready since a while for the yellow jersey, and I think today I made it pretty clear that I can take it and win this tour. But we're not there yet. Tomorrow is another hard stage and then time trial. But first of all, I'm really happy to win here on Galibier. I said it before the tour. Said if I could choose a stage, it would be this one, and I'm just super happy I can go out and enjoy this victory.